So today we're going to be doing a little bit of foraging. Has anyone ever eaten wineberries before? Yeah, some? Okay, cool. One thing about foraging is that we can't account for what people are doing, so we usually try to wash anything that's like low to the ground where like a dog might have peed on it or something like that, but we can't really know what's going on in the forest around us. I try not to forage close to roadways where there might be like, you know, engine oil or other things splattering on stuff. But I think that Cobbs Creek is generally a safe place to forage. We're not too close to the road. Yeah, it's generally pretty safe, but foraging, you always have to kind of take that risk. But the risk that we're not going to take is guessing on identification. So you never want to pick anything or eat anything from the woods that you're not 100% sure of. Luckily, wineberries are a pretty easy one to identify. So we'll get into wineberry identification once we get out there a little bit more. But first, I want to show y'all a couple related species. So I have 4 different kinds of. These are all in the Rubus genus. So Rubus is wineberries, raspberries, blackberries, even some things called dewberries. So does anyone want to try and guess which one is which? I have 4 things. I have a wineberry, I have a black raspberry, I have a red raspberry, and I have a blackberry. Anyone want to guess which one's which?
Is the black raspberry the darker ones, the bigger ones?
This one?
Yeah.
This one? Not quite. It's a good guess though.
I think these 2 are the raspberries, but I don't know which one.
Mm-hmm. Any other guesses?
Yeah.
So this is a red raspberry. The reason it's really small is because I couldn't cut a bigger piece because they got weed whacked at some point earlier in the season. So it hasn't grown very much. I didn't want to take too much of it off. This one is a blackberry. Blackberries get like 10 feet tall. They get really thick, like woody stems. So you'll notice this stem is a lot thicker than all these other stems. Blackberries grow really, really tall and aggressive. They can be really thorny if they're thorny blackberries. Luckily, this is a thornless one. And then these 2 look the most similar. What do we notice difference between these 2?
White back.
Yeah, this one's got a little bit of like white on it. Oh, the white back of the leaves. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're fuzzy.
This one's fuzzy. This one's smooth. Yeah, exactly.
What would you say? Fuzzy
Yeah.
or spiny?
Yeah, if you look closely, they both have thorns, but this one on the right has these little tiny fuzzies on it. So this one on the right is our wineberry. So one of the easiest ways to identify a wineberry, other than the berries, is that it has fuzzy stems, and the scientific name is Rubus phoenicolaceus. Phoenico, like phoenix, means red, describing the berries, and laceus describes the fuzziness of the stem. When you see wineberries in the woods, the stem will sometimes be a bit more red. It's pretty green in this one, but this one is our black raspberry. So this is our native raspberry. Wineberries are non-native. They're an invasive plant. Does anyone know what invasive means?
Harmful to the ecosystem.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's harmful to the ecosystem. It's not from this continent. So wineberries are from East Asia. They're from Korea, Japan, and Eastern China. This black raspberry is our native version of raspberries. And black raspberry has this cool thing where the stem has like this little bit of white on it, this little like sunscreen that can actually be rubbed off. So a way to identify black raspberries is that it's kind of more this bluish, this like pale blue from that sunscreen. In the wintertime, the stems turn red, so it'll actually look more purple. It's got like a red stem with this white covering, so it'll look really purple in the wintertime. But yeah, all of these species have green leaves, and the back of them are a much lighter color. In the raspberries, it's almost like a completely white, whereas the blackberry is a little darker. Now, we're gonna go pick some berries, but raspberries and all species in the Rubus family, like blackberries as well, are also very medicinal. The leaves are very medicinal, so even if the berries are not like around to be foraged. Like we're kind of on the tail end of the season right now. They've kind of been picked through, but once the season's over and before the season begins, the leaves can be foraged, and they're really good medicine for uterine health. So if you struggle with like menstrual cramps or you know, any sort of like menstrual pain, they're really good for that. They're a good they tone the uterus, so it's good for people that are struggling with that. So they're also really high in iron and calcium. So it's a good plant to forage even when the berries aren't around. The berries are also very high in vitamin C and fiber. They're really good for you, and they're delicious.
How do you use the leaves?
So you can pick the leaves. I like to pick them when they're younger, so like the ones that are towards the tips, they're a little bit more tender. You can pick them and just put boiling water over the top when they're fresh, or dry them, and same thing. Yeah, it makes a nice, like, they're a little bit bitter, kind of tannic, but it's pretty gentle, and it's a tasty tea. Yeah, yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah, so you're saying the leaves are edible?
Yes, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't necessarily like chew on them.
Wait, what's edible?
All the wineberry, raspberry, and blackberry. Yeah, you'll often find in like health food stores like red raspberry tea, and that's just red raspberry leaves. But since it's in the same family as blackberry and wineberry, you can use them just the same. Yeah.
You said you wouldn't chew on them.
I wouldn't. I mean, they're like pretty fibrous, but I would use them like tea rather than necessarily like eating them like a spinach. Yeah, but you could if you wanted to. Yeah. All right, you guys ready to get on the trail? Before we go too far, I want to point out one of the most important plants to know if you're foraging, hiking, etc. Anyone know what this one is?
Poison ivy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe it gave away that I didn't touch it, but yeah, poison ivy is, I think, the most important plant to know if you like going in the woods, because it'll give you a horrible rash that'll last for, you know, a week or two. So poison ivy has leaves in groups of 3. In the center of the 3 leaves is usually like a red space, a red dot, and it likes to vine up things. And the younger leaves are often very glossy. So I think that if you're doing any foraging, any hiking, it's really important to learn poison ivy first if you're going to learn any plant at all. So if you want to take a closer look, just make sure not to touch. All these other plants around are not poison ivy. These are called porcelain berry. We don't have to worry about them. But always good to know poison ivy. That way you can know to stay far away from it. Yeah, there's some on the ground over here, but you don't need to worry too much about. Yeah. And poison ivy, the way that it makes you itch is from an oil. It's called urushiol, and the oil, once it gets on your clothes, it has to be washed off. So if you get a little bit of poison ivy on your arm and then you scratch your arm, it's going to end up on your hand. It's going to spread all over. So definitely just be aware of any time you're near poison ivy and try not to touch it whatsoever. Like I mentioned, we're sort of on the tail end of the wineberry season. It lasts about 2 or 3 weeks. It's usually pretty safe to go looking for them around July 4th. That's like the time that I usually try and keep in mind. But luckily this patch, we're down at the bottom of the hill where the creek seems to keep this area a little bit cooler than the top of the hill. So since it's a little cooler down here, it's a little shadier, these plants develop a little bit later in the season. So the ones at the top of the hill are pretty picked, but the ones down here still have plenty of fruit on them. Before we start picking, I want to point out something too. So you might be able to see the stems are a little bit redder. They've got all those little hairs on them. Those hairs are called trichomes, and they're a little bit sticky. So you might notice that when you start to pick, your fingers will get a little sticky. That's okay, it's totally safe. So the berries are technically, botanically speaking, they're technically not even a berry, but that's just like silly science stuff, because apparently a banana's a berry, but this isn't, which is crazy to me. But this is called an aggregate fruit. Aggregate just means it's a bunch of little fruits stuck together. A really good like foraging tip is that almost no aggregate fruits in North America that are not edible and safe to eat. So if you are stranded in the woods and you like aren't sure about what to eat, if you see a fruit that looks like a raspberry, it's got a bunch of little fruitlets stuck together, it's probably safe to eat. Now don't go like just, you know, picking anything you find that kind of looks like a raspberry. You always want to be sure when you're eating things. You don't want to accidentally eat anything poisonous. But this is one of the safest like things to guess on if you were going to guess. Yeah, so this is a wineberry. There is a ton in here, so we can start picking. Just be sure when you get close to the plant, it's got, you know, little thorns on it, so watch your arms, try not to get scraped up. But yeah, we can go ahead and step into the bushes a little bit and start picking. Grow in these thorny thickets, and it's the best way. The way to get the best ones is just really diving in there, because the ripest ones always seem to be hidden among the thorns.
They don't spread through rhizomes or anything. It's only the berries.
That's a great question. They spread through the seed of the berries. They also spread. In fact, hey, everyone, look over here real quick. I want to show something. That's a really good question. So they spread by seed. So when birds eat the berries, they poop out, and every little berry's probably got like almost 100 seeds in it. They also spread by they arch over. They make these canes that arch over, and when they finally touch the ground, they will root in the ground right there and start a new plant. So that's how they form these thickets, is they kind of arch over and spread like that. Yeah. So I like to wear long sleeves for my legs to keep like things from scratching my legs, and for my arms, that way I can reach in and not, you know, I can reach in fearlessly without worrying about getting scraped up. Because the best ones, I think, are often hidden, kind of tucked away, where the squirrels and the deer and the birds don't want to venture. So yeah, the ripest ones seem to be always tucked away deep in the brambles. Yeah. You'll notice they grow in like clusters, so there might be a couple ripe ones and a couple unripe ones in the same plant. If it was big, it might not have been. Sometimes when they get really ripe, I don't even put them in a cup. I just eat them right away because they'll like start to fall apart. You see how it's already like kind of getting juice on my hands? Look how much darker they are compared to the other ones.
Oh wow.
And you see how much they swell up too? Little tiny fruits. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, so one of my favorite things to do with the wineberries is to put them in a pot with a little bit of sugar and water and make a raspberry or wineberry syrup. And that's really, really good on vanilla ice cream. You can also add it to seltzer water and make like a raspberry soda. You can freeze them, use them in smoothies later, put them in pancakes. Someone said put the syrup in coffee, raspberry coffee, which sounds awesome to me.
Lemonade.
Wineberry lemonade's a really good one, yeah. You muddle them up in a glass and pour with lemonade on top. It's really good. Like pink lemonade.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. You can even take that lemonade, that pink lemonade, put it in a freezer pop, and then have it like a popsicle. Yeah. Put them in a cup with a stick in it. Yeah. Yeah. It's really fitting for the summertime. The sour flavor. They're like even prettier than a regular raspberry, because regular raspberries have like a little bit of a matte, like fuzziness, and these are just golden, like glistening.